The royal palace of Velora shimmered under the twin suns that bathed the planet in golden light. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers native to the lush gardens surrounding the grand structure. Inside, Queen Yunha sat on her throne, her regal presence commanding respect from everyone who entered the hall. She was a striking figure, her silver hair cascading down her back like a waterfall, and her piercing blue eyes seemed to see through every lie spoken before her. Yunha had ruled Velora wisely for many years, guiding her people through times of peace and conflict alike. But now, she faced a new challenge, one that would test not only her leadership, but also her heart. Today marked the beginning of an alliance between Velora and Earth, two vastly different worlds brought together by necessity. At the center of this union stood Huan, a human chosen as her consort. Huan was unlike anyone Yunha had ever met. He was tall for a human, with dark hair neatly combed and warm brown eyes that carried a quiet strength. Unlike the flamboyant nobles of Velora, he dressed simply, his clothes plain yet clean. His demeanor was calm, almost too calm for someone thrust into such an extraordinary position. To most, he appeared humble, even meek, but Yuna sensed there was more to him than met the eye. The ceremony took place in the grand hall, where hundreds of guests gathered to witness the historic event. Nobles whispered among themselves, their voices tinged with skepticism. Many doubted the wisdom of allowing a human to marry their queen. Some even questioned whether Huan could truly understand the complexities of ruling a planet as advanced as Velora. But Yunha paid no heed to their murmurs. She had made her decision after careful consideration. Huan had been recommended by Earth's leaders as a diplomat skilled in negotiation and diplomacy. During their brief meetings prior to the wedding, she found him to be thoughtful and insightful, qualities she valued deeply. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was holding something back. After the ceremony, the newlyweds retired to a private chamber within the palace. Servants brought trays of exotic fruits and delicacies from across the galaxy, but neither Yunha nor Huan touched them. Instead, they sat facing each other, the silence between them heavy with unspoken questions. You must have many doubts about this arrangement, Huan said finally, breaking the quiet. His voice was soft, yet it carried a note of confidence that surprised Yunha. I do, she admitted, but I trust my instincts, and they tell me you are not what you seem. Huan smiled faintly, though his expression remained guarded. Appearances can be deceiving, Your Majesty. Perhaps we both have secrets worth keeping. For now. Yuna studied him closely, searching for any sign of dishonesty. But all she saw was sincerity. For the first time since agreeing to the alliance, she felt a flicker of curiosity about the man sitting before her. What lay beneath his humble exterior? Days turned into weeks as Huan settled into life at the palace. He attended council meetings alongside Yunha, offering advice when asked, but rarely speaking unless necessary. The nobles dismissed him as insignificant, believing him to be nothing more than a figurehead meant to appease Earth. Yet Yunha noticed subtle changes whenever Huan was present. During one particularly heated debate over trade agreements, tensions rose as factions argued over which planets should receive priority. Just as the discussion threatened to spiral out of control, Huan leaned forward slightly and spoke. His words were measured, his tone calm, yet they carried a weight that silenced the room. Perhaps instead of focusing solely on profit, he suggested, we should consider how these agreements will affect the lives of ordinary citizens. After all, isn't that why we strive for progress? The council members exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement while others scowled. Yuna watched Huan carefully, marveling at how effortlessly he had diffused the situation. It was a skill few possessed, let alone someone considered so unremarkable. As time passed, Yona began to observe other instances where Juan displayed unexpected intelligence and resourcefulness. Whether it was resolving disputes among servants or suggesting innovative solutions to logistical problems, he proved himself capable in ways that defied expectations. Yet despite his growing influence, Juan remained modest, never seeking recognition or praise. This puzzled Yunha. Why would someone with such abilities choose to stay in the shadows? Was it humility, as he claimed, or something else entirely? One evening, as they strolled through the palace gardens, Yunha decided to probe further. "You intrigue me, Juan," she said, her tone casual but probing. "I've seen glimpses of your true self, yet you continue to hide behind this mask of humility. Why?" Juan stopped walking and turned to face her. For a moment, his usual composure faltered, revealing a hint of vulnerability. "Because sometimes," he replied softly, "it's safer to let others underestimate you, especially when the stakes are high." Before Yonha could press him further, a servant approached, interrupting their conversation. There was news from Earth. A delegation would arrive soon to discuss the next phase of the alliance. As they returned to the palace, Yunha couldn't help but wonder what Juan meant by his cryptic response. Little did she know, the answers would come sooner than expected, and they would change everything she thought she knew about her husband. For now, however, not the galaxy remained unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface of Velora's tranquil skies. The palace of Velora buzzed with activity as preparations began for the arrival of Earth's delegation. Servants scurried through the halls, arranging lavish feasts and decorating grand halls with banners symbolizing unity between the two worlds. Yet beneath the surface of celebration, tension simmered like a storm waiting to break. Queen Eunha stood on her balcony overlooking the capital city, her mind heavy with thoughts of the challenges ahead. The alliance with Earth was fragile, held together by threads of diplomacy rather than true trust. Many of her people still viewed humans as primitive outsiders unworthy of sharing their advanced society. Among them was Lord Kyumin, a cunning nobleman whose sharp eyes missed nothing and whose ambitions knew no bounds. Kyumin had long resented Yunha's rule, believing that pure-blooded Valorans should govern without interference from lesser species. He saw Juan's presence as an insult, a symbol of weakness in their queen, and he wasn't alone. Whispers of dissent spread throughout the court, fueled by Kyumin's carefully planted rumors. "Your Majesty," a servant announced, bowing low. "Lord Kyumin requests an audience." Yuna sighed, turning away from the view. She had expected this confrontation sooner or later. "Send him in," she said, her voice calm but firm. Moments later, Kyumin entered the chamber, his tall frame draped in rich robes adorned with intricate patterns. His dark hair was slicked back, and his piercing gaze locked onto Yuna with calculated intensity. Behind him trailed several advisors, their expressions smug and self-assured. "Your Majesty," Kyumin began, bowing deeply, though his tone lacked sincerity. "I come bearing concerns shared by many loyal subjects. They question whether our alliance with Earth truly serves Velora's best interests." Yunha raised an eyebrow, unimpressed by his theatrics. "Speak plainly, Lord Kyumin. What do you want?" He straightened, his lips curling into a sly smile. "It is not what I want, Your Majesty, but what your people deserve. A ruler must inspire confidence, not doubt. Yet how can they trust you when your consort remains unremarkable?" The insult hung in the air, sharp and deliberate. Yunha felt a flicker of anger but kept her expression neutral. "Juan's worth is not measured by appearances alone. His counsel has proven invaluable to me, and to Velora." Kyumin chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Forgive me, Your Majesty, but even the most humble among us cannot hide forever. If he truly possesses qualities worthy of our queen, let him prove it. Otherwise, perhaps it is time to reconsider this arrangement." With that, he bowed once more and took his leave, leaving Yunha to stew in frustration. She knew Kiyumin's words were meant to provoke, yet they struck a nerve. Was she wrong to place so much faith in Huan? Or was Kiyumin simply trying to sow discord? Later that evening, Eunha found herself pacing the library, unable to focus on the ancient scrolls lining the shelves. Her thoughts kept returning to Kiyumin's challenge, and to Huan. She needed answers, and she needed them soon. As if summoned by her thoughts, Huan appeared in the doorway, his expression calm as always. "You seem troubled," he said, stepping inside. "May I help?" Yuna turned to face him, her resolve hardening. "Tell me the truth, Huan. Who are you really, and why did Earth send you here?" For a moment, Huan hesitated, his usual composure wavering slightly. Then he sighed and gestured for her to sit. "Very well," he said quietly. "But first, promise me you will hear me out before passing judgment." She nodded, curiosity outweighing her impatience. Huan began his tale, speaking of a life far removed from the quiet diplomat she believed him to be. He revealed that he had once been a decorated officer in Earth's interstellar fleet, known for his tactical brilliance and leadership during times of war. After a devastating conflict, then he had faked his death and assumed a new identity to escape the limelight. When Earth learned of the alliance with Valora, he continued, they saw an opportunity to place someone they trusted close to your throne, someone who could ensure peace while protecting both our worlds. That person was me. Yunha listened intently, her initial shock giving way to understanding. Though his deception stung, she couldn't deny the logic behind it. Still, questions lingered. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I wanted to earn your trust without relying on my past," Huan admitted. "I hope to show you that I am more than just a soldier or a pawn in someone else's game." Before Yunha could respond, a sudden commotion erupted outside the library. Guards shouted orders, and the sound of running footsteps echoed through the halls. Without hesitation, Huan moved to the door, peering out cautiously. The sound of clashing swords and shouted commands filled the air as chaos erupted in the palace corridors. Armed intruders moved with precision, their faces masked and their intentions clear. They had come to kill. Queen Unha stood frozen for a moment, her mind racing to make sense of the sudden attack. Beside her, Huan's calm demeanor shifted into something far more intense. His eyes narrowed, and his body tensed like a coiled spring. "Stay behind me," he said firmly, stepping forward to block Yunha from view. Before she could protest, Huan sprang into action. With movements so swift they seemed almost unreal, he disarmed the first intruder with a single strike, sending the weapon clattering to the floor. Another attacker lunged at him, but Huan sidestepped effortlessly, and grabbing the man's arm and twisting it until he dropped his blade. Within moments, 3 intruders lay unconscious at his feet. Yuna watched in stunned silence, her heart pounding. This was not the humble diplomat she thought she knew. The man before her moved with the skill of a seasoned warrior, every motion calculated and deadly. Yet even as fear gripped her, she felt a strange sense of relief. Huan was protecting her, and he was doing it with unmatched expertise. More guards arrived, shouting orders and rushing to subdue the remaining attackers. The intruders, realizing they were outnumbered, retreated down the corridor, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. When the danger passed, Yunha turned to Huan, her voice trembling. "What just happened?" He didn't answer immediately, so instead scanning the area to ensure no threats remained. Finally, he looked at her, his expression grim. "An assassination attempt. Someone wants you dead." Yuna's breath caught in her throat. Assassination attempts were rare in Valora, where security was tight and loyalty to the crown ran deep. Whoever orchestrated this attack must have powerful allies and significant resources. "We need to find out who's behind this," she said, her voice steadying as determination replaced fear. Juan nodded. "I agree, but we must act carefully. Trust no one, not even those closest to you." Over the next few days, the palace became a fortress. Extra guards patrolled the halls, and every servant was questioned about their whereabouts during the attack. Suspicion fell heavily on Lord Cumin, whose disdain for Yuna's alliance with Earth was no secret. Yet proving his involvement would be difficult without evidence. As investigations continued, Yuna found herself spending more time with Juan. She couldn't ignore the questions swirling in her mind, questions about his past, his skills, and his true role in her life. One evening, as they sat together in a quiet chamber overlooking the gardens, she decided to confront him once again. "You saved my life," she began, her tone soft but probing. "And I'm grateful. But I need to know everything, Juan. No more secrets." He hesitated, then sighed deeply. "Very well, but understand this. What I tell you may change how you see me." For hours, Juan spoke openly about his life before coming to Velora. He described battles fought across distant stars, strategies devised to outwit enemies, and sacrifices made to protect Earth's interests. And he explained that his selection as Yunha's consort wasn't merely a gesture of goodwill, it was a calculated move by Earth's leaders to place a trusted agent close to Velora's throne. "I never intended to deceive you," he added, his voice tinged with regret. "But I had a duty to fulfill. Over time, though, that duty changed. My loyalty now lies with you, not just Earth." Yunha listened intently, her emotions shifting between anger, hurt, and understanding. Though his deception stung, she couldn't deny the sincerity in his words, or the depth of his feelings for her. "Do you trust me enough to help uncover the truth?" Juan asked finally. She met his gaze, seeing the vulnerability hidden beneath his usual composure. "Yes," she replied. "Together, it will find whoever is behind this, and stop them." Their investigation led them to an old artifact Juan had kept hidden since arriving on Velora. It was a small device, unassuming at first glance, but when activated, it projected holographic maps of star systems. To Yuna's astonishment, the maps revealed patterns of movement among alien fleets, patterns that suggested a coordinated effort to destabilize Velora. "This isn't just about me," she realized aloud. "Someone is planning something much bigger." Juan nodded gravely. "It appears so. And if we don't act soon, Velora could fall into chaos." With newfound resolve, Yunha and Juan devised a plan to expose the conspiracy. They gathered evidence linking Lord Cumin to the assassins, tracing payments made through shadowy intermediaries. At the same time, Juan used his knowledge of military tactics to strengthen the palace's defenses, ensuring they were prepared for any further attacks. The climax came during a formal assembly of nobles, where Yunha addressed her court with unwavering authority. Standing beside her, Juan projected the holographic maps for all to see, revealing the extent of the threat facing Velora. Gasps of shock rippled through the crowd as the truth unfolded before their eyes. Lord Cumin tried to deny the accusations, but the weight of evidence crushed his protests. Cornered and exposed, he lashed out, accusing Yunha of favoring a human over her own people. "You've betrayed us all!" he shouted, his voice trembling with rage. "No," Yunha countered, her tone cold and commanding. "You betrayed us, Cumin. Your greed and ambition nearly cost me my life, and Velora its future." Guards seized Cumin, dragging him away as the nobles murmured in disbelief. For the first time, many began to see Juan not as a mere human, but as a vital ally, a protector of their queen and their world. As the assembly dispersed, Yunha turned to Juan, her heart swelling with gratitude and admiration. "Thank you," she said simply. He smiled faintly, though his expression remained serious. "We're not done yet. This is only the beginning. Indeed, the battle for Velora was far from over, but for the first time, Yunha felt truly united with Huan, their bond forged in trust and shared purpose. Together they faced the unknown, ready to defend their home against whatever challenges lay ahead. And the skies above Velora darkened as alien warships descended like vultures circling their prey. The planet's once peaceful atmosphere was shattered by the hum of engines and the ominous glow of weapons charging for battle. Lord Cumin's betrayal had unleashed a storm far greater than anyone anticipated. The rival alien race he allied with, the Zitherans, had arrived, their fleet bristling with firepower and their leaders demanding Yuna's abdication. Queen Yuna stood on the palace balcony, her silver hair whipping in the wind as she watched the invaders take position in orbit. Her heart raced, but her expression remained calm. She knew panic would only weaken her resolve. Beside her, Huan studied the holographic maps projected from his artifact, analyzing the Zitharan fleet's movements. "They're positioning themselves for an orbital bombardment," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "If they fire, it could devastate the capital." Yunha clenched her fists, anger burning in her chest. "They dare threaten my people? They will regret this." Huan nodded, though his eyes reflected concern. "We need to act quickly, but we also need a strategy that doesn't leave us exposed." Together they returned to the war room, where advisors and generals gathered around a large table displaying tactical simulations. The mood was tense, with voices rising in heated debates over how to respond. Some argued for immediate retaliation, while others urged caution, fearing the Zitharan's superior technology. Amidst the chaos, Huan stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. "We can't win this fight head-on," he began, his tone firm yet measured. "But we don't have to. Velora has something they don't expect, Earth's hidden weapons." The room fell silent as everyone turned to him. Earth's involvement in Velora's defense was supposed to be a secret, known only to a select few. Huan glanced at Ayunha, seeking her approval. She gave a slight nod, trusting him completely. "Years ago," Huan continued, "Earth embedded advanced weaponry across key locations on Velora. These weapons were designed to protect your world without drawing attention. Now it's time to activate them." The generals exchanged skeptical glances, unsure whether to trust this revelation. But Onha spoke up, her voice cutting through the doubt. "Huan is right. If we want to survive, we must use every advantage we have to prepare the weapons and prepare our forces for battle." Orders flew across the room as plans were set into motion. Huan took charge of coordinating the activation sequence, using his artifact to interface with the dormant systems. Meanwhile, Yunha addressed her troops, rallying them with words of courage and unity. "To defend Velora is to defend everything we hold dear," she declared, her voice echoing through the halls. "Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Stand strong and show these invaders what it means to challenge our home." Cheers erupted from the soldiers, their spirits lifted by their queen's determination. As night fell, the first wave of Zitharan ships entered Velora's atmosphere, their sleek forms slicing through the clouds. Laser beams rained down on the capital, striking buildings and sending plumes of smoke into the air. Explosions lit up the horizon, shaking the ground beneath the defenders' feet. But then something unexpected happened. Hidden turrets emerged from beneath the city streets, their barrels glowing with energy. With a roar, they unleashed a barrage of plasma rounds, tearing through the Zitharan ships with devastating precision. The invaders faltered, caught off guard by the sudden counterattack. From the war room, Huan monitored the situation, adjusting tactics in real time. His experience as a soldier shone through as he directed Veloran forces to exploit weaknesses in the enemy's formation. Ships that once seemed invincible now struggled to maintain their positions. Yuna joined the fight on the front lines, leading her troops with unwavering bravery. Clad in ceremonial armor adorned with symbols of her lineage, she wielded a blade forged from Velora's finest metals. Though she hadn't fought in years, her skills proved sharp as ever, cutting down enemies who dared approach her. At one point, she found herself surrounded by Zitharan soldiers, their weapons trained on her. Just as despair began to creep in, Huan appeared at her side, wielding a weapon unlike anything she'd seen before. It was sleek and compact, clearly of Earth design, and it emitted a low hum as he fired. Each shot struck true, disabling the attackers with surgical precision. "You shouldn't have come," Yunha said, her voice tinged with both gratitude and frustration. "And let you face them alone?" Huan replied, a hint of a smile on his lips. "Never." Together they fought their way back to safety, and their bond stronger than ever. Around them, the tide of battle shifted in Velora's favor. The hidden weapons decimated the Zitharan fleet, forcing them to retreat. By dawn, the skies were clear once more, and the capital stood battered but unbroken. In the aftermath, Yunha surveyed the damage, her heart heavy with grief for those who had fallen. Yet she also felt pride for her people, who had fought valiantly, and for Huan, whose leadership had turned the tide of war. As they stood together amidst the ruins, Huan spoke softly. "This victory won't end the threat. The Zitharans are just one piece of a larger puzzle. There are others out there who see Velora as vulnerable." Yunha nodded, her resolve hardening. "Then we'll prepare for whatever comes next. Together." For the first time, she truly understood the depth of Huan's abilities, and the sacrifices he had made to protect her world. He wasn't just a humble diplomat or a skilled warrior. He was a partner, someone she could trust with her life and her kingdom. As the sun rose over Velora, casting golden light across the scarred landscape, Yunha and Huan vowed to rebuild, not just their city, but their alliance. United, they faced the future, ready to confront whatever challenges awaited them. The days following the battle were filled with both sorrow and hope. The capital city of Velora bore the scars of war, smoldering ruins, shattered buildings, and streets lined with memorials for those who had fallen. Yet amidst the destruction, there was a renewed sense of unity among the people. They had faced an unimaginable threat and emerged victorious, thanks in large part to Queen Yuna's leadership and Huan's strategic brilliance. Yuna stood on the balcony of the palace once more, gazing out at the horizon where the twin suns painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. Her heart ached for the lives lost, but she took solace in knowing that their sacrifice had not been in vain. Velora still stood, and its people remained strong. Behind her, Huan approached quietly, his footsteps soft against the marble floor. "How are you holding up?" he asked, his voice gentle. She turned to face him, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "I'm fine. Tired but grateful. We couldn't have done this without you." Huan shook his head modestly. "It wasn't just me. It was everyone. The soldiers, the engineers, the citizens. They all played a part." Yuna stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "Still, I know now what you've given up to be here, your past, your identity, everything, and I want you to know that I trust you completely. You're not just my consort anymore, Huan. You're my partner in every way that matters." For a moment, Huan looked taken aback, as if he hadn't expected such heartfelt words. Then he smiled, a genuine expression that softened his usually stoic features. "Thank you, Yuna. That means more to me than you can imagine." Together, they turned their attention to rebuilding Velora. Under Yunha's guidance, construction crews worked tirelessly to repair damaged infrastructure, while Huan introduced innovations inspired by Earth's technology. He proposed integrating advanced energy systems into the city's design, ensuring it would be better prepared for future conflicts. At the same time, Yunha addressed her people, acknowledging the sacrifices made during the battle and pledging to strengthen ties between Velora and Earth. She declared Huan co-ruler of the planet, a decision that shocked many nobles but earned widespread support from ordinary citizens. "From this day forward," she announced during a public ceremony, "we will stand united, not just as Velorans, but as allies of Earth. Together, we will forge a new era of peace and prosperity." Cheers erupted from the crowd, echoing through the square. For the first time in years, the people felt a sense of optimism about the future. Yet even as Velora began to heal, shadows lingered on the horizon. Rumors spread of a larger conspiracy involving multiple alien empires plotting against them. Spies reported whispers of secret meetings and alliances forming in distant star systems. One evening, as Ona and Huan reviewed intelligence reports in the war room, Huan frowned at a particular piece of information. "This isn't over," he said grimly. "The Zitherans were only the beginning. Someone, or something, is pulling strings behind the scenes." Yuna nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we'll be ready. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Over the following weeks, they worked to fortify Velora's defenses, incorporating lessons learned from the recent battle. Huan trained soldiers in Earth's combat techniques, emphasizing speed and adaptability over brute force. Meanwhile, Yunha strengthened diplomatic ties with neighboring planets, seeking allies who shared their vision of peace. Their efforts paid off when news arrived of a potential breakthrough. A delegation from a neutral alien race, the Caliph, had reached out, offering to mediate talks between Velora and its adversaries. Though wary of ulterior motives, Yuna agreed to meet with them, hoping to prevent further bloodshed. The negotiations took place aboard a massive space station orbiting a remote moon. Representatives from various factions gathered around a circular table, their expressions ranging from hostile to indifferent. Tensions ran high, with accusations flying back and forth. Through it all, Yunha remained composed, her voice steady as she advocated for cooperation rather than conflict. Beside her, Huan observed silently, his sharp eyes noting every detail. When one particularly aggressive delegate accused Velora of provoking the war, Huan leaned forward, his tone calm but firm. "If provocation means defending our home against invaders, then yes, we provoked them. But tell me, would you not do the same if your world were threatened?" His words struck a chord, silencing the room. Slowly, the delegates began to see the situation from Velora's perspective. By the end of the session, tentative agreements were reached, paving the way for future discussions. As they returned to Velora, Yunha reflected on how far they had come. What started as a fragile alliance between two vastly different worlds had grown into something far greater, a testament to the power of trust and collaboration. One evening, as they strolled through the palace gardens, Yunha paused beneath a tree whose blossoms glowed softly in the twilight. "Do you ever wonder what the future holds?" she asked, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "All the time," Huan replied. "But whatever happens, I know we'll face it together. That's what gives me hope." Yuna smiled, reaching out to take his hand. "Yes, together." In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of their recovering world, they allowed themselves a rare moment of peace. The galaxy might still tremble with uncertainty, but for now, they found comfort in each other, and in the knowledge that they had built something worth fighting for.